Good evening. It's 5:55. I'd like to call the meeting of the Mashpee Conservation Commission to order. At this time, we usually ask if there's anybody in the audience who is not on the agenda who would like to make representation of the commission to come forward at this time, and no one's moving, and everybody that's here is going to make a representation. So let's go to the pre-agenda items. Drew.
Okay. There was an omission on the pre-agenda for the minutes. We're going to approve two sets of minutes, May 25th and another set that wasn't approved from April 27th, which you have already reviewed. Everyone should have already reviewed those a while back, so we just neglected to put it on the. So we are requesting approval of the minutes of April 27th, 2017 and May 25th, 2017.
So move.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries.
Okay. Next, Matt Costa from Cape and Islands Engineering is here. He's going to propose a conservation land swap involving our Lopez Conservation Area, and he's got some. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. For the record, Matt Costa, Cape and Islands Engineering. Here tonight representing Matt and Donna Lopez. They're the owners of 103 Meeting House Road. The reason that we're here tonight is to get Conservation Commission's approval to do a land swap that involves town-owned conservation land. So if I call your attention up to the draft that Drew put up, what their proposal is to, Jack, this is the Lopez family tract right here. It's a long parcel, parcel that has a long dog leg out that abuts the river. What we're proposing is to carve out this area in green and swap it for town-owned land over here in yellow. This is the town-owned conservation parcel right here. This is also Lopez family members here and here. And currently, there's a house on 103 where Mr. and Mrs. Lopez live and have done so for many, many years. This property's been in the business since I was told the early 50s. And they access the property through a driveway easement. It's a prescriptive rights easement. There's no written easement. It's been there and existed prior to the land going into town conservation trust, and they've always had the rights to use that land. Furthermore, utilities are run from Great Oak Road down the bank across the river to feed the Lopez house, electric utility. Then that electric utility poles exactly run down the driveway, come out to Meeting House, and believe it or not, continue down Meeting House feeding these houses over here. So what we have is a situation where currently there's conservation land right here, where privately owned land surrounds it in the back along the adjacent river, along a river that's adjacent to the private owned land. This is also Commonwealth of Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries land over here. So in a nutshell, what we're looking to do is to give the town this land right here that's immediately adjacent to the river. It has a lot of topography to it. It's within the inner riparian and outer riparian zones for the river. It is a very sensitive area that it would be difficult to develop, and it would have better environmental benefits if it was preserved. And that this conservation land over here, if we developed that instead, the net result would be a more contiguous open space conservation land that now protects all of the river corridor in that area. So if you listen through my babbling a little bit, what we're doing is we're taking conservation land that's right along the river, that is highly, has a lot of environmental value to it, and we're swapping it out for land that already has utilities and roads running through it, that is upland area, that is not within inner riparian zones to a riverfront area. And ultimately, there will be a net benefit for the town from a conservation standpoint and from just a usability standpoint, as there are trails in this area, and now you have conservation land that connects these parcels all together. So this is a very long, complicated process. The first step is coming to you guys tonight to get your endorsement for this. What you would be approving would be the concept. You actually don't approve the land swap itself. We have to go through the State House, get various approvals there, then we'll need to go to Planning Board and get appropriate approvals there. Now, I want to be perfectly clear. The whole reason that the Lopez's are doing this is to develop this area right in here, the yellow area. They intend to try to develop this parcel over here and get some additional house lots for family members. But in looking at it, it made an awful lot of sense to go down this road, to actually give this land to the town and take this land back and develop this land over here. So that is the purpose of our request, and we're here tonight to get your approval of this concept so that we might proceed with bringing this before selectmen, getting this on town meeting warrant for town meeting approval. Then it will allow us to go to the State House to get the appropriate approvals there, then circle back around and come through the planning board process to get.
How do the acreages compare?
They're
Exactly the
exact
same.
swap. We're swapping exactly 3.72 acres.
I
So
was
it's
going to point
it's
that
an
out,
even
because
trade.
you look at this picture, it doesn't look even.
That's not, that's just illustrative.
That's just
but
illustration
The actual
purposes.
surveying will require an equal swap, excuse me.
They're absolutely matching. So-
It's a good question. I should have
Yeah.
pointed that out.
So what is the actual width of that area right along the river, the strip?
This strip in here,
That's the river.
there'll be a strip that's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 feet.
61 and a half.
It says 60, but it's at an angle. So just the perpendicular distance is probably going to be somewhere around 40 to 50 feet. And that will create the corridor that connects through.
So, well, when you were moving that pointer around, did I gather that 171 and 183 are also conservation land? You're,
I haven't
Oh,
confirmed that, so I
one,
really
yeah,
don't know.
one,
On the west side of the river.
oh, can you point to them? Just not
Which,
seeing.
here?
170.
No, 172,
Yes, that's-
190, 174. Right in that, you're right there in those parcels. Those are actually on the
190.
west side of the river, because.
They're on
that-
the other side of the river.
That's
I
the-
believe
that's the west
all
side of the river.
All three of those, 174, 172, and 190, are privately owned parcels.
I was looking at, I'm sorry, 170, is it 171?
Okay, 171 and 185 below it
Yes.
are both trustees of reservation land, so they are conservation land
Already
held
in
by a
trust.
land trust. Basically, if you were to follow Meeting House Road on south to where it meets 28, south of this Lopez, which is the subject of this request,
Yes.
all of the land from that point on south to the 28 intersection is conservation land.
Okay.
So,
So,
It's,
so what we're going to, one thing that happens here, I'm just trying to get my head around this.
Yeah.
Is that we're making for a very narrow wildlife corridor to traverse north and south now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas currently, there's a pretty wide area there.
well, keep in mind, the entire parcel is privately owned currently.
Yeah, there's no corridor.
There is no conservation
Right.
land there currently.
But there is one all the way up to the center
Huh?
at the present time.
Yeah, if I can just kind of illustrate here, this, starting here with this little, where it meets the road, if you follow the yellow line,
Right,
this whole piece is the Lopez Conservation Area.
Right.
This section of Lopez is being requested to be swapped
Right.
out for what this area, which is entirely privately owned right now.
right. So the way things currently sit, there's a wide corridor that runs up the center of that, because that area at the top is also conservation land, right?
Up here, that's Mass Fish and Wildlife.
Is that the extended conservation land in that direction?
It is, yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not following. What do you mean by wide corridor?
Well,
I'm not following
the
either.
area that's going to, that they wish to develop currently connects the conservation land above and the conservation land below.
It doesn't. They own this strip right here. That's their strip.
Oh, okay, yeah, yep.
Okay?
But if you look at it in terms of wildlife movement or some such thing, that strip is not going to restrict in any way. I mean, it's something that I didn't pick up before when we were out there walking the land and so forth, is that little strip, you can't really detect it. It's there. I mean, it's just
It's a paper.
well, it's probably was intended to be a right-of-way to give 193 some access out to Meeting House Road, but
I mean,
they're not
I understand,
utilizing it.
I could see Dale's point in regards to, that is like, from a wildlife habitat or wildlife movement corridor perspective, that's a big chunk that, if this gets approved and goes through the motions and ultimately gets developed, that's a chunk of area that is now a passable wildlife habitat corridor that may be more restricted if and when it becomes developed. But the only thing I can really say in regards to that, I don't argue with Dale's point at all, is that an opportunity to have, and this is just my opinion, to have contiguous land that protects actual riverfront habitat that's currently private property would, in my opinion, be the most beneficial aspect. Most wildlife habitat corridors do involve some sort of wetland. Riverfront habitat is usually a very busy wildlife habitat corridor in and of itself. And I just put a much higher value on protecting riverfront than I do upland, if you had the choice.
And if you look at it from a regulatory perspective, they sort of tell you that the riverfront area has a higher environmental value to it just through the regulations. The regulations are so incredibly stringent for inter-riparian zones that they really want to try to limit the development in those zones to the maximum extent feasible, but still trying to protect property owners' rights. The wildlife movement that occurs through here, there most likely is some. The second sheet on your plan shows you topography, and there's some topography to this entire parcel. But there is a clear corridor along the river and in this area that you see that most likely is where the majority of the habitat movement would occur. There is activity already in development, already in the area where we're requesting to swap out. So it already has development activity there through the road and through the utilities. And what we're really giving back is a piece of land that has a higher value, environmental value to it, which is evident through the regulations that are associated with that area.
They may, and I'm just speculating here, but I would venture to guess, because I haven't been, I haven't gone through this sort of, haven't had experience going through this sort of request and process of changing out use by virtue of swapping out conservation lands, that Article 97 land is, particularly if it's mapped under natural heritage and endangered species estimated or priority habitat, that the state may require a wildlife habitat evaluation. It has to go through your endorsement first. The next step is, based on your endorsement of it, it goes to town meeting for a vote, for a majority vote at town meeting. And then the last step is it goes to the state legislature for a 2/3 vote by the state legislature. I'm guessing that, and I know that Natural Heritage does have the river corridor mapped for the entire length of the Mashpee River. I'm just not sure how far upland that is. And I don't know, like I said, I'm speculating, but there could be a requirement for a wildlife habitat study as part of this ultimate approval process. So, but I don't know if Natural Heritage extends up to that upland piece there. I mean, I haven't researched it, but it's easy enough to find out. And surveying will also have to be done to ensure that the swap amount, the acreage, is equal. And the boundaries will have to be surveyed, obviously, for the parcel that they're looking to swap out. So,
You have not surveyed the property, putting corner bounds?
That plan is based on
Okay.
a survey of the
Okay,
property.
that's what I thought.
The second sheet does look like they're about the same.
Say that again, I'm sorry?
Yeah.
On the second sheet, it does look about the same area, in fact,
Yeah.
unlike on the first sheet, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's where the Lopez's were saying, even it up, make it even so that there's not going to be a question about, we're going to give you so much and we're going to get something less or more.
Yeah, we felt public perception was going to be a key issue in that it was important to have the square footage equal so that no one had felt as though the Lopez's were getting anything more than what they were getting. But in reality, from a conservation standpoint, the town would make out better in this scenario, if approved, and everything did go through, by controlling the land along the river and forever locking this in as conservation land. While at the same time, there is a benefit here, is that we're actually cleaning up a non-written easement that's happening right now through just prescriptive rights. So that does actually help clear title on the property, too.
So the part that's shaded there doesn't include all of that road. On here, it looks like it might, but I can't
Yeah,
tell.
just to let you know,
Already-
that is illustrative only.
I
Go
know,
by the
I
plan
know.
in front of you.
So I'm asking, is the current road all in the area that will now be along the Lopez?
The current road cuts right, can you see the light area through lot 127? That's the
Yes.
actual road.
Right, that's what I'm
That
wondering.
leads.
Is
They're
it
not
going to
followed.
be,
So a portion is out of it, a portion is in, yeah, not the entire road.
It's an absolutely gorgeous area in terms of the river. You're high on a hill looking down to the river, which is almost in a chasm kind of a setting.
Yeah, it's a pretty area.
It really is. And so if it was to create paths there, it's a vista that reminds me very much of the southern Mashpee River. When you get south of 28,
Yeah.
it's very, very similar. Beautiful.
I have been in there too, and there's some really pretty places
Oh,
in this area right there.
Looking down at it, it's beautiful as it winds through the trees.
Yeah, so the road is all going to be on their property.
Yeah,
now.
if the swap went through, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It looks like it's just pretty much a win for the town in terms of our concerns and interests. here on the
We
committee.
get the land closest to the resource area that we're concerned with protecting, so it's better from that standpoint. Drew, do you have anything to add?
Nothing
Cross
more
just-
than what I had said already. If there was any questions about the procedure, because it is, as Matt indicated, it's a long procedure to get something like this done. Because essentially, when you're changing the use of conservation land, and this is technically a change of use, it's asking to swap land so they can develop a portion of what is currently conservation land in exchange for an equitable parcel in a different location. That's technically a change of use, and that's why it has to go through these various approval steps, Article 97 land, through the town meeting, and then through the state legislature.
How long ago did the Lopez family give this to the town? The portion that's now going to be moving over, how long, do you have any idea how long ago that was?
I don't, I can find out, but I'm not.
I'm just curious, but as to whether it's a generational kind of a thing. It's obviously Mark's father who must have
I think
probably
there might have been
done
a tax consideration involved.
Or was it a tax consideration?
I think so.
Usually is, yeah.
That didn't come up in conversation. Okay, so, any other questions? Then I guess we need to have a vote
Yes.
to, and I guess the wording is to approve the transfer or swap of land from the Lopez family to,
Or do we just recommend?
we gotta be more specific.
I think it's semantics. Approval, I think, is a fine, perfect, word to use for this purpose. Approve or endorse.
Yep.
I move that we approve the described swap of land.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's move to 6 o'clock hearing of Rosemary Abbott, 218 Wheeler Road for proposed repair and permitting of an existing dock. Nope. Kindly identify yourself and tell us what you're planning to do.
Hi, I'm Richard Abbott. I just want to repair my, when I bought the house, the dock was in disrepair, or when my wife bought it, so we just want to repair the dock, seasonal dock.
Yeah, pretty straightforward, exactly. Just so Commissioners aware, this is a property bordering on a Shumet Pond, which is over here adjacent to John's Pond. Wheeler Road runs along the pond front here. This is a Shumet. This is the parcel right here. Basic design of the dock to be rebuilt in its previously existing footprint, and just to get that footprint on record. And this is just to give you an idea what the topography of the site. Pretty steep inland bank leading down to the shorefront on the Shumet Pond. And as you can see from the photo here, the dock is in a pretty good state of disrepair, so I wouldn't think it was safe to step on that last section there. So, I would recommend a negative determination. One of the things that we do require when it comes to seasonal docks is display of your property address in case a piece becomes dislodged in adverse weather or the pond floods and the pieces float away. We require on a placard of some kind to display your property address on each piece
On
of the
each
dock.
piece of the dock?
Yeah. And that's the only stipulation.
Like that.
Yeah, just something, a stencil or something like that you can put on there, yep.
Okay, so we can get it back to you when the time comes. Any questions? No? Then let's move the questions.
I move for a negative determination.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Call the 6:03 hearing of George E. Mandelos, 22 Cross Tree Way for proposed vista pruning. This is an NOI.
My name is George Mandelos, chairman of the Green Proposed House. We have 3 pines on the side of the house. We really love them. They're kind of very beautiful, visited by a lot of birds, and colorful finches and cardinals and other birds. And they do provide a focal point of the whole landscape there. It's kind of really nice. And they're very healthy. They got a disease way back when the pine disease was kind of spread around, but they did survive. And since then, they started growing tremendously, particularly the last few years. They are, as a result of that, they grew tremendously and they blocked the view from the living room, from the deck, and from the upstairs bedroom. We're asking the commission to give us a permit for vista pruning on those trees, with understanding also that we want to maintain them in good shape, and hopefully they will be healthy and continue to be the beauty of our property.
Okay, Drew, your comments?
No, I've met with the Mandeloses a couple of times just to go over the width of the view corridor, which is the standard 25% of their overall linear frontage. So you can see on the plan, that was calculated out. They have 140 feet linear frontage along Pompanesett Creek. 25% of that is 35 feet, which they have shown to scale on the plan. 1 inch equals 15 feet. And you can see from the photos, these are the 3 pines that are being referred to. 1, 2, 3, or ABC as they're shown on the plan. Again, just a close-up of the 3. You've got a lot of lower branch growth that's coming out over the deck. I would imagine those would be the targeted. Vista pruning involves selective removal of branches on mature class trees, and each one of these are under the category of mature. So they're over 5 inches in diameter at breast height. 30% of the branches per tree is allowed to be pruned. So there will be, if you approve it, there will be a requirement for a professional pruner from a landscaper or arborist to come and do the work and to meet with staff on site to go over exactly what's to be pruned and to make sure that the pruning doesn't adversely affect the tree's health. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward.
Is it pitch pines?
All three
Yeah.
pitch pines, yeah.
In fact, I don't know if those pictures really do it justice, that big one. I thought it was actually hanging on the roof now, but those
No, it's
pictures-
not, it's, yeah,
Up right
it's
on the
mostly
roof.
over the deck and the stairway here, you can see, and this one here is going over a pretty significant portion of the deck.
Yeah,
It was,
those limbs are,
they were a
Yeah.
lot bigger than I thought they were. but-
they're going to fail if they aren't.
Yeah, they're gonna become a hazard situation too, so that would be another reason to prune them back.
Consider the creek is the southwest, so predominant breezes are coming in that direction. It could endanger that deck for sure. Okay, this request is an NOI. Do I hear a motion?
Move that we close an issue.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Very good, you're all set. Okay, we'll move to 606. And 606, the words there, as that they have requested to withdraw this application. We need to, do we need to approve a withdrawal?
Yes, always.
Okay, that's a new one.
Move that we approve the withdrawal.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it carries, so it is withdrawn.
Thank you.
Then we have the 609 hearing of Theodore Salemi, trustee, 12 Little Neck Lane, proposed construction, two-car garage, retaining wall, landscape improvements, removal of the existing deck, and replacement of 4 pilings. This is an NOI, and that has, they have asked for a continuation to June 22nd, 2017 at 6 p.m. They want to address some wetlands issues. Do I hear a motion to continue?
Move to continue the motion until the, this hearing until 6/22/2017 at 6 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Aye.
motion carries. Okay, now we get to 612. Michael D. and Angela Maddick, 27 Uncatina Road, proposed tree pruning and a hot tub and hardscape installation. This is continued from May 25th to allow for some mitigation plan submitted.
Good evening. I'll go to the microphone in a moment. I'll just stand up.
There we go.
For the record, my name is Jack Landers-Call. I am a civil engineer in private practice, and I've been retained by the owners of 27 Ungatina Road to prepare the plan and the RDA that's before you this evening. First of all, I wanted to say, kind of a sidebar issue, it's refreshing that it's so easy to talk to the staff. So many towns, it's hard to reach them, they have limited hours, whatever. Drew and his staff has been real good. And one of the reasons we have the revised plan before you today is because when he did do a site visit, he made some indications as to what he thought was wrong. He told us what he thought we should do. We made those changes, and we have the plans before you this evening. Basically,
Sort of the way it should be, huh?
I kind of like it. I kind of like it. You know, again, as a sidebar, at least it makes it feel like the fees you're paying, you're getting the service for, and that, I think, is awfully important. There are two things. First of all, we proposed to put a 10 by 10 hot tub in the back, and we proposed to do some what I consider incidental limbing or lifting of 2 pine trees and an oak tree. The lifting is of the incidental trimming is off the table. We are formally requesting that not be part of this application, that administratively it's not handled with an RDA. Having said that, understanding what the protocol is, we are formally saying we're withdrawing any motion or any request for trimming of any sort. The only thing before you is the hot tub. So what we're proposing is a 10 by 10 hot tub in the backyard. We propose mitigation plantings according to your regulations. We reviewed it with the staff. They had some comments. We made those changes, and those comments are reflected in the changed plans. So the second part of this is these plans now, in my opinion, should be the plans of record. That's about it. If you have questions,
Are
I'd
there
be
other
happy to
activities
answer.
going on here other than a hot tub? I see a dumpster and a bounce house. And
There's some siding, I think, going, or interior work, I'm not sure. Nothing on the exterior, though.
Nothing in the exterior that.
No, it's some
we
sort
would
of
have any
interior.
interest in.
Interior renovations, I believe, is what's happening there.
The driveway, that cobble apron looks brand new. I was just curious as to whether there's been landscaping going on.
I can't answer.
Yeah,
I can tell you this much, it's a new owner, and most new owners, what they do is they renovate. I think, I'd like to say the cobble apron has been there for at least, as long as I've worked on this project, would be about 3 months. I don't know what was before that.
Well,
yeah, I'm not,
we probably would have approved it anyway.
I think so. I
And in
don't even
fact,
know if it would
we
have been
show it
worthy
on-
of a
We
permit.
show it on the plan. This little area right here, it's right here,
Yep.
is that cobble
In the
apron.
road layout, yeah.
So this survey was done at least 2.5 months ago. So it was there for at least 2.5 months. Before that, I simply can't tell you.
Okay, let's not get into it then.
Yeah.
What, the base for the hot tub, what will that be made of? And
I'm sorry.
the base for the foundation for the hot tub, what will that be made of, and what will the footprint be? Would it match the 10 by 10?
I didn't ask that question, but I have to believe that it's either going to be concrete pavers that are laid side by side. So what I would do if it were me is I would excavate the organic. I would lay dense graded crushed stone. I'd put a 12 by 12 paver on top of it, and then I'd lay the structure on top of that. There'll have to be a conduit laid underneath it to the house so they can deliver power. Other than that, I don't think they need anything else.
And a GFI breaker, other than that?
Well, the power source, I don't know where they'd place the GFI. I would think if they're going to go through that expense, thinking it out, I'd probably put a GFI on the face of the building so they can have a light source. Make that all the same circuit.
It's the
And
electric-
then like most, it's canvassed or covered in the winter.
The area from the house to the beginning of the hot tub footprint, is that proposed to be patio, or is that just the hot tub is going 5 feet out from the house and nothing is going in?
I asked them on 2 occasions, is there anything else? And they said, no, we're just putting the hot tub in and then we're walking out to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Also, just to clarify what Jack had mentioned before in regards to the revised plans, is that originally there was mitigation that was shown. You can see on the on the left side of the house, the mitigation that was more expansive along the side lot line, or close to the side lot line. And Kate and I went out and we identified 2 barren areas within the BVW, which you can see on the lower right photo. That's kind of a snapshot of what the bordering vegetative, the buffer zone to Dean's Pond looks like. It's kind of a mix of ornamental plantings and natural vegetation. But there were some barren areas, and we always like to take advantage of those that are closest to the wetland or resource area as opposed to further away. So that's why you see the revisions of those 2 pocket areas of mitigation in that buffer strip. And then the one that was originally part of the entire mitigation was diminished to reflect portions of that area being taking advantage of these kind of barren areas in that buffer strip. So that's why Jack had submitted this revised plan, which I think is a better place for mitigation, to spread it out like that than what was originally proposed. No other
Okay.
comments?
Any other questions?
No, I just, the reason I asked that question is if you put in, say, a 10 by 10 hot tub, you may find the engineering specs call for an 11 by 11 base. So if we're looking at the all-over footprint, that might trigger more mitigation and would be something that would need to be worked on. But if it's within the 10 by 10 displayed, then I'm happy to vote.
The candid answer is I asked them the size, they told me 10 by 10. I didn't think it, I didn't think, okay, the footprint might be 6 inches bigger all the way around. I can ask, they will clarify that for you.
If you could keep in touch with the conservation agent on that.
Okay, any other questions? Any questions from the audience? Questions from the audience?
It's a quiet night.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
For negative determination.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, so that, we now have to handle some other issues here. The next batch, the Air Force Civil Engineering Center. Continue these. So the 615 Air Force Civil Engineering Center, 300 Nathan Ellis Highway, proposed water main installation and connection to town water. They have asked for a continuation to 7/13 at 6 PM.
Move that we continue this hearing until 7/13/2017 at 6 PM.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
At the request of the applicant, though.
It is, all of them are at the request of the applicant, correct? Yep.
618, the Air Force Civil Engineering Center for 475 Nathan Ellis Highways, proposed water main installation and connection to town water. This owner of record is Michael and Susan Musto, at the request of the applicant to continue to 7/13 at 6:03 PM.
Move that we continue this hearing until 7/13 at 6:03 PM at the request of the applicant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion carries. At 621, the Air Force Civil Engineering Center, 62 Quail Hollow Road, proposed water main installation, connection to town water. The owner of record is Ronald M. Donway, and they wish to continue to 7/13 at 6:06 PM.
Move that we continue this hearing until 7/13/2017 at 6:06 PM at the request of the applicant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to, motion carries, 624, the Air Force Civil Engineering Center, 65 Sunset Circle, proposed water main installation and connection to town water. The owner of record is Malcolm J. Portnoy. Requested the applicant, they wish to continue to 7/13 at 6:09 PM.
Move that we continue this hearing until 7/13/2017 at 6:09 PM at the request of the applicant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. Now have some COCs to take care of.
I'll pass these around, and I'll go over the
And we've
remaining
got a couple
agenda
of
items.
additional items.
Yes. Okay. Couple of updates. I'm currently looking at Regulation 27 under our Chapter 172 bylaw that deals with docks and piers. It's a very wordy, detailed regulation that I think could be shortened up, summarized, and neatened up a little bit. So that's coming down the pike, and I'll supply you with copy of the current wording of the regulation and then suggested wording changes alongside that, and then we'll go through the same motions that we did for Regulation 30. When it comes time, when you feel comfortable, we'll schedule public comment for one of our public meetings. We'll advertise it in the paper. It will be a normal agenda item. when it gets to that stage, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. I'm currently in the process of reviewing it. And any questions on that? Next is just another FYI, 2017 October town meeting warrant deadline is July 10th, and I will be looking at the bylaw. I believe there's some language in the bylaw that refers to a $100 continuance fee that the commission has never really acted upon, and I don't think it's really warranted to have that in there. You have the power to deny as opposed to a continuance. I think the slapping of a fee for a continuance request seems a bit draconian. So,
It doesn't make any more paperwork for Cynthia, for instance, right? All she does is just set that aside and bring it back out again. No additional paperwork has to be created because of it? Well, I know, that's what I'm wondering.
That was probably the
I'm just looking
intent.
to see whether we have any labor costs for
I don't
the
think so.
continuation, so we can justify the increase in fees. It sounds like there's no additional cost, so we have little leg to stand on.
as far as,
The $100.
yeah.
I mean, there's no additional labor.
No, it's an inconvenience fee more than anything. I think it's motivation to get it right the first time, really. I think that's the reason it was put in there. But I just don't think it should be in there, it seemed, particularly since the commission has never acted upon it since I've been the agent.
So an
But
attempt to be-
it'll be something that I'll bring up for future discussion. It was just one example that's in the bylaw that kind of seems like nobody's really, enacted it. And if you go by X number of years without any use of it, then maybe it should be removed. Yeah, it's in there. And it should
In the
be,
interest of being a kinder, gentler.
that's right.
Well, so much of what we,
Commission.
so much of what we do depends on cooperation of the public. That
You
seems
got it.
like a very
I think
good.
people are motivated to get it right the first time anyway.
Yeah, it just seems
Because, I mean, it's a
unnecessary.
waste of their engineers' time in many cases, too.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Paying for it to be here,
Absolutely.
so.
But, by virtue of having that option to deny a project, if you see enough continuances, you're like, or either that, or just put a request to the applicant to withdraw this, go back to the drawing board and come back to us when you're ready. And if they're not willing to do that, then you have the power to deny it, if you don't want to see it on the agenda anymore, which is perfectly within your purview to do so. So, without resorting to a $100, probably, I think that would be good in motivation for them to withdraw it instead of paying a $100 continuance fee. But anyway, that's just one example. Okay, the last item is what you have before you in the packets that I handed out to each one of you. This is homework. This is required homework to read these. These are responses to the request for proposals for the restoration of the Upper Quashnet. There are 5 of them total, I believe. You have one from the Association for the Preservation of Cape Cod, one from Epsilon Associates and Baxter Nye. The third one is from Tig & Bond. Fourth is Horsley Witten Group. And the last one is from Ecological Restoration and Monitoring, Rick Reinhard, PhD. Not necessarily in that order, but those are the 5 that you should have.
Does the town, or do we have any protocol for quantifying the responses to verbiage like this? So that this section weighs 30 points and this section weighs 22 points, and when you add them up, you can do that more than, I just like this one, as opposed to,
We could come up with I think that's a good idea, to come up with some kind of a point scale. We actually did that when the commission way back when was reviewing the bog bids for when, I think, Bud, wasn't that, I believe that was the methodology for choosing the selected grower.
got to put some values on.
There's
the
evaluation for
various
each
things you're
criterion.
asking to
Yeah,
address.
I can put something like that together. I wanted to give you this at this meeting.
Yeah,
The
I-
deadline to let the winning consultant know that they're chosen is June 23rd, so we have until the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, so we have one meeting.
Yeah, one meeting. I can put something together as a rating scale.
I mean, I don't know personally, like in many cases, I've, had to deal with the submissions in the business world, and I've also had to put the responses to RFPs together.
Sure.
And I just always felt better when somebody said, look, that we marked that down, we marked that one up,
Yeah.
and so forth. So therefore, it's rather than being totally arbitrary.
Oh, yeah,
Not
yeah.
that you were,
No, I agree.
but the people who are responding to the RFP can think that you're totally arbitrary and you made your decision up before you even submitted it.
Yep.
This way, you got some quantification of the responses.
Absolutely.
That ends up being somewhat subjective.
And I know we have like a format for that somewhere when we did the bog bids, that it was that you assign a point category, a point designation to each category, and then you come out with the one that has the highest point total.
Yep. And then there's got to be always some subjectivity that enters into this.
Oh, absolutely,
It's-
yeah,
It's an
yeah.
attempt to make it as analytical as it possibly could be.
And you have you should all have a copy of the RFP itself that you can use to compare how well they responded to all of the different tasks outlined in the RFP. If anyone doesn't have that, let me know and I'll send it again. You will notice too, because the town manager was the one who opened up the sealed envelopes to look at the bid amounts. That's his job as the town's procurement officer. So we did that, and the amounts are they range the spectrum. From below 100,000 to above 100,000. But what dictates that is the services that are offered, and I think in pretty much each one, and I haven't read every one of them yet, but there is, that caveat that if you require additional services, there will be an addendum to this contract, so on and so forth. So some of them are, I'm pretty sure all of them are open-ended like that, and some are more comprehensive that cover some things that the RFP asks for.
Schedules spelled out for additional services?
What's that?
Are there rate schedules included here?
They are. It's a very detailed breakdown. We have them do cost per service,
Yep.
Have it do all the line items broken down into, the very last detail. So it's very, very comprehensive, each one of these. They all did a great job in coming up with their responses. So I've only read through APCCs at this point.
I never even realized that APCC would get involved in this kind of
Well,
thing.
they have this new resource, I forgot there's an
Is
acronym
there
for
a
it. but-
conflict here with APCC, given that the selectman is now
No,
running
because
APCC?
he has not participated in this RFP review.
But
He has
by
made
the
it,
time any work begins, then you've got a significant player in the town managing the activity for the town?
I don't know if he would play a management role. In reading through the APCC, there's no mention of,
Separate himself. I don't know how large an organization APCC is.
well, in reading through the APCC response, his name is not mentioned anywhere as far as project supervisor, manager, or anything.
I don't know,
so-
but I would.
But I agree, it's a
The time comes
valid
that
point.
Mr. Costello probably needs to
Right. Oh, yeah.
look at it.
Sure.
Render an opinion, if
Yeah.
he should be the low bidder or come
Right.
close to it.
Right, right.
Is his a paid position?
I would imagine
Oh,
so,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know.
He's,
anything more
he's
than
the
what I read in the
director of
newspaper.
APCC. But I mean, as far as like the conflict of interest law, if you're part of an organization, but you're not taking an active role in that organization with a project, I don't think there's any conflict, but we'll certainly run it by Pat and make sure.
Yeah, that's all.
And Andrew understands this 100%. He knows,
I'm sure he does.
APCC is a bidder, and he's well aware of the conflict of interest law and ethics and everything
Sure he
else that
is.
goes with it.
I don't mean to reflect in any way there.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
raise the issue.
Right. So you will see, like I said, a range of prices, but keep in mind that the level of services there's a direct correlation there. And some of these responses are including more services than others, but still in line with what the RFP was drafted and looking for, and the criterion that we were looking for. So just keep that in mind, that it's not all about price. It's about service as well. And they all provide their employee biographies, resumes, their background, project examples they've done in the past, breakdown of services, materials, costs, direct costs, related costs. Everything is broken down to the nth degree. So, and it's
Keep us off the streets for a while. Off the golf courses and whatever have you. Okay, do I hear any other business to come before the commission? Do I hear a motion?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries.